So, Dead Boy Detectives. Season 1 came out. I watched all of it. I had a lot of thoughts about this show. But it seems like Dead Boy Detectives Season 1 is all we're getting, because this show has been canceled. What's going on? Why was it canceled? Why didn't I talk about this show? So here's the thing. I watched all of Dead Boy Detectives, and I did really want to talk about this show, but I got distracted by other things. This is a big issue for me. I am a person that loves many things, and so because of that, there's always periods where just things are going to fall through the cracks for me. So know that if there is something that I have talked to you about on stream, or something that I've said I've really loved and I can't wait to watch it, odds are good I probably did watch it and I do have thoughts on that thing, but there was something else going on at the time that just completely distracted me, and I talked about that. And I even find when I do an upload a day or 2 uploads a day on my channel, it's sometimes not enough for all the things that I want to talk about and the length that I want to talk about stuff. So that being said, let's quickly talk about Dead Boy Detectives and my thoughts on that show. And, you know, if I feel like that's part of the reason that it's been canceled in terms of the quality of the show. Ultimately, short answer, I'm going to say no. I don't think that's part of the reason it was canceled. I'm going to keep my thoughts on this spoiler free. So for those who haven't watched the show yet and want to do that, and you're worried if I'm going to spoil things for you, I'm going to keep this pretty generic in terms of the plot and the details of that. But basically what Dead Boy Detectives is, for those that are not aware, is it is a show that's on Netflix. Dead Boy Detectives is related to the Sandman universe. There's actually a whole comic on it. When I did my reaction to the trailer, I did talk a little bit about my knowledge of Dead Boy Detectives. The Dead Boy Detectives are also characters that appear in Sandman in the comic. I've actually read all of the original Sandman comic, and if you know me, you know that I have said before, and I will say again, Sandman is one of my favorite comics, and it is actually probably one of my favorite stories ever. I really love the Sandman story. So Dead Boy Detectives, I was pretty excited for because I thought it was cool. We were taking these 2 smaller characters from Sandman who, once again, you know, do have their own series at this point, and we were going to explore them in a live action show. And I thought, that sounds fun. That sounds cool. And the whole idea of it is they are 2 dead boys and they're detectives and they solve the cases of the dead. So basically people's deaths that weren't resolved in life, who don't have that closure. They're trying to help people find that closure, spirits find that closure so that they can move on. So that is the premise for Dead Boy Detectives. I would say if you like Sandman, I think you'll like Dead Boy Detectives. If you've ever seen Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, which was based on a Douglas Adams work that also got a live action adaptation, which I also really enjoyed. If you haven't watched that, it's really, really good. This show also reminded me a little bit of that. So it really reminded me of stuff that I enjoyed. I like the Sandman live action. I have actually done an older video now here on my thoughts on season 1, and I also really like Dirk Gently's, which I've never talked about on this channel, but I do love it, and I'm a big Douglas Adams fan as well. But I digress. Dead Boy Detectives is fun in its own right because I feel like it's kind of like Sandman, but a little bit more of like a YA vibe. It gives me that young adult kind of appeal, and it's about these younger characters who are dead and have been basically teenagers their whole lives, so they are old in that sense. But a lot of the characters in it do act like young adults, and it's kind of about them coming to accept themselves, coming to realize who they are. But each episode is also really fun because it's a case that the dead boys go on, and they end up teaming up with a live girl who can see them, who also is kind of like a psychic medium character. There's some other fun characters along the way. There is a butcher that they befriend. There is a kind of a girl who gets altered by one of the cases and who's kind of quirky and weird and cute. It's just a fun show. It's whimsical. There's some really heart-wrenching moments in it, and it's really off the wall and weird, and I like how quirky it is. And it's also very queer, so if you also want a fun, queer, young adult, supernatural, kind of whimsical, weird show, it also is that. And I also, as a queer person, enjoyed that element of it. I thought it was really fun. So there's a lot of different elements to it that are fun and enjoyable, and I thought the production was well done. I thought the acting was well done in this, and like I said, I feel like the story is just a good time. And they did end it off with the potential for a season 2, like where we leave a lot of these characters, although they do complete the story of season 1, which I always appreciate. It wasn't left left on like a cliffhanger, but they do set up a future story where these characters could continue the detective agency and the stories of all the characters involved in the show. So I thought that would be fun to explore. I would love to follow along with Edwin and Charles and see how this season 1 has changed their characters and their relationship with each other and where that's gonna go. I would love to see, you know, where Crystal ends up as she learns more about herself on her journey. If Jenny actually ends up, you know, continuing down the path that they set up for her. There's a lot of cool characters here. Nico has some stuff with her family that she's working out. I mean, it's just, these characters are really interesting. That would have been cool. I think it would have been cool. However, the show was canceled. So what happened here? Was it not well received? No, it was actually very well received. I think on Rotten Tomatoes, not that it's the be all end all of everything, but it's well reviewed. On Rotten Tomatoes, Dead Boy Detectives is sitting at a 92% in terms of the reviewer rating, and in terms of the audience rating, it's sitting at a 91%. I think the views for the show were also pretty good, and I will say that's impressive to hear, considering one of the things that I thought was a huge problem for this show was the marketing. I don't think it was marketed well. I don't think the fact that it was part of the Sandman universe was properly advertised. They did allude to death being in it, which is a thing, but they didn't really make it known that it was part of Sandman, that it was tied to the universe. I feel like they should have put Sandman Universe Presents Dead Boy Detectives or something like that. Something in there to just let people know that it's connected, so that the people that enjoyed Sandman would maybe, I don't know, check it out, because they probably would like it, like I said. And the other thing is that it didn't feel like they were really pushing the show. Like, I feel like they just kind of put it out and they were like, okay, well, whatever. We let people know it exists and then they can do whatever they want. And it's very good. I think you should watch it. However, it has been canceled. So what's that about? So people enjoyed it. The views apparently were pretty okay, at least, is what I've heard. So what happened here? Beyond the fact that, like I said, I feel like this show was not well marketed. Well, something that I have been struggling to discuss on this channel, even though I've been following along pretty closely with it, is there have been some allegations against Neil Gaiman, which, if true, are pretty horrendous. They are things that I'm struggling to get into. I don't know if I want to get into it, honestly, on my channel, because it is deeply upsetting for me as someone that really loves a lot of Neil Gaiman's works. And, you know, like I said, Sandman is one of my favorite stories ever. So hearing this news has been very upsetting as someone who loves a lot of work that he's written. So I've just been struggling to talk about it personally. But the other issue is some of this stuff is pretty bad, and I don't even know some of it how I would talk about it on YouTube, because YouTube doesn't really like when we talk about this stuff. YouTube censorship is a bit of a thing here. And what I mean in that regard is there are certain things that we can't talk about that are, you know, deemed too sensitive to discuss on YouTube. I don't quite agree with that, but that is a topic for a whole other video. But what I will say is some of these allegations are very serious, very disturbing. You can check it out if you would want to. I will provide some of the resources that I have been going to kind of keep up with it and to just hear takes and different reporting that's been going on surrounding it. But yeah, it definitely, I think, has affected Dead Boy Detectives, and it also has affected other productions that Neil Gaiman is involved in, or that are even works related to Neil Gaiman. There's apparently The Graveyard Book was a production that Disney was, I think, considering doing. It's based on The Graveyard Book is the book, and they were going to do a movie that was based on that. And I think I've heard that that has been shelved. I don't know if it's been permanently shelved, like we're never touching this again. It might have just been shelved more in the sense of we're putting it back on the shelf. There have been some sources that have said that. I haven't looked deep into it, so I'm just going to leave it as kind of a take with this what you will. But there are other productions that have definitely been affected by it, including Dead Boy Detectives and including Good Omens Season 3, which I believe is going to be the last season of Good Omens anyways, and they're partway through production, and that has been halted, and it's believed that it's related to these Neil Gaiman allegations. And Neil Gaiman actually came out and said he's going to step away from the productions, I think, to allow them to continue so that they aren't affected by what's going on with him right now. And he has denied the allegations, but like I said, the allegations are out there and there are multiple people that have come forward. I think at the time of this recording there might be 5. So yeah, it's just really tough. but it sucks because Dead Boy Detectives was a really good show. I really enjoyed it. I did like it. If you guys do want to hear more on this show from me, let me know down in the comments. I can do a full review of it if people want me to get into the spoilers and get into some of more of the details of some of the moments or episodes that I liked. I did like it. I did really like it, and I thought it was fun. And I am still excited for Sandman season 2, but I am conflicted to say the least. So yeah, if you've been wondering, you know, the weird thing about these allegations too is not a lot of people are reporting on them as well. I haven't been seeing a lot of people talking about them. It's strange, but I have been struggling because although this is something that has been very at the front of my mind, it's hard for me to talk about, to be real with you guys. That's kind of where we're at with it. Let me know your thoughts on this. And if you watched Dead Boy Detectives, what did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Why? Why not? If you've been following along with the stuff with Neil Gaiman, you're obviously free to also discuss that in the comments. But as always, I just ask that you be respectful of each other and be kind to one another, and keep in mind that, you know, these are very serious allegations. So I just ask when we discuss this stuff that we discuss it with that in our minds, because it is sensitive stuff, you know? And yeah, it's pretty disturbing to say the least. So yeah, it's kind of where I am at with it. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the show. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Until next time, friends, stay nerdy, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, stay nerdy.